My name is Tim Amundsen, and I'm a product manager at AMD, focused on launching and growing Azure services built on AMD products. In this video, we'll walk through confidential computing infrastructure as a service options on Azure, based on AMD technology, and how together we enable more secure, trustworthy, and verifiable cloud. For those not familiar with AMD, we are a semiconductor and software company designing high-performance computing technologies, including CPUs, GPUs, networking, and accelerators powering PCs, servers, and cloud infrastructure. In the data center, where Azure is a global leader, we offer EPYC CPUs, Instinct GPUs, and a wide range of networking and custom products that connect everything together. As a cloud customer, you may feel that you don't need to dive deep into the hardware, as Azure does a wonderful job configuring and managing that for you. But there is great value in comprehending the core infrastructure, especially when you have the opportunity to select Azure Infrastructure as a Service. Your selection of various AMD-based configurations can optimize your cloud costs, performance, and security posture. The Azure and AMD partnership goes back nearly 10 years. In 2017, AMD launched the first EPYC CPU, which Microsoft leveraged for their LSV2 storage-optimized virtual machines, or VMs. Since then, we've executed year over year, now with around 60 different VM series. Azure was also the first to launch AMD's AI-focused accelerator, the MI300X, as well as the first confidential VMs in the cloud, based off of AMD EPYC, which is where we'll focus in this video. Azure Portal provides you with many options for VMs. So how do you select a VM powered by AMD EPYC CPUs? Look for the lowercase a. The vast majority of the VMs you'll see have that A I'm highlighting here, from the BA SV2 to the DCa SV5 to the NVA DS V710 V5. And though this is the common naming structure, there are a few exceptions, like the LSV2 and the high-performance computing H-series VMs, which had been AMD only since HBV2 was announced in 2019. Now you may wonder what all these letters mean. This is the alphabet soup we live every day. There are many VM series and sizes designed and tailored for you to select the right fit virtual machine to meet your application needs. All this is made easily accessible to you so that you don't need to stress about procuring and managing your own hardware and data center. That's the beauty of Azure. Many of the Azure services you rely on daily are also built on the backbone of the same VM series and sizes made available to you. For confidential computing VMs, we'll focus on the latest V6 DCa and ECa families. Then we will touch on some of the security-focused Azure services you can deploy today that are built on top of confidential VMs. Back in 2021, Azure announced the launch of the first confidential VMs in the cloud that did not require code changes, a significant leap forward in usability for end customers, enabling more practical security without the cost and time of branching and maintaining confidential VM-ready versions. Based on the third-generation AMD EPYC processor, these became the V5 DCa and ECa VMs, which are still available today. Previous approaches in confidential computing required users to adapt their code to the confidential capabilities of hardware. But AMD changed all that with Secure Encrypted Virtualization, or SEV. SEV enables AMD hardware to protect data even when it's being processed. It isolates encrypted memory from the host operating system, hypervisor, and even the cloud operator itself. Because code changes aren't required, it's as simple as choosing an Azure confidential SKU and deploying. Adoption of these confidential VMs have come from many companies in regulated industries like healthcare, finance, insurance, and defense, each of which have threat models that require significantly more protection of data in the cloud. Confidential VMs are also playing a key role in the enablement of sovereign data and computing around the world. The newest AMD V6 confidential VMs on Azure are based on the 4th generation EPYC CPU. These VMs essentially mirror the non-confidential V6 DA and EA counterparts with the same specs, while adding the confidential capabilities. The general purpose DCa VMs come with 4 GB of memory per virtual CPU or vCPU, ranging from 2 to 96 virtual CPUs. You can get these VMs with and without temporary disk, denoted by the lowercase d in the name. Plus, they also come with premium remote storage capabilities, denoted by the lowercase s in the name. We recommend these VMs for many workloads with e-commerce, web server, virtual desktop, customer relationship management apps, less intensive databases, and app servers, often a great fit. The memory-optimized ECA VMs simply double the memory ratio from 4 to 8 GB of memory per vCPU. As the name suggests, these are best for memory-intensive applications, and we recommend them for app servers, data warehousing, business intelligence systems, in-memory analytics, financial transaction systems, and relational databases, among others. Azure measured the gen-over-gen performance of the v6 confidential VMs compared to the v5, and the results showed several significant improvements. Measured results show nearly 25% more SPECint, which is a measurement of raw computing performance. Nearly 12% improvement in both the memory latency and general encryption performance tests, plus a 25% improvement in P99 latency for ASP.NET. Generally speaking, confidential VMs have a small performance hit of about 3 to 6% versus their non-confidential peers, but they do outperform the previous generation of those non-confidential VMs. AMD has supported confidential computing in its hardware for several generations now and will continue to improve performance, so stay tuned for new developments there. These v6 confidential VMs are now available in 20 regions with the hardware in place around the globe. By the time you watch this video, there may be more regions available, so always check the Azure availability page for the latest. Of course, reach out if you need confidential VMs in your location. Several customers of v6 confidential VMs are publicly sharing their stories. BMW Group turned to the DCa V5 confidential VMs originally because they could enable the security they needed for Active Directory without changing any code. Core42, a G42 company focused on sovereign cloud, AI infrastructure, and digital services, also started with the v5 confidential VMs and are moving to the v6 to get the same consistency with more performance. And KT is protecting data for their telco business and building their secure public cloud offering on top of the v6 confidential VMs in Korea Central. The Microsoft Secure Future Initiative launched in 2023 as an effort to demonstrate industry leadership in enterprise-wide security practices. AMD infrastructure has helped the SFI pursue its principles of secure by design, secure by default, and secure operations. The most recent public report from November 2025 disclosed that 95% of Microsoft Entra ID signed VMs have already migrated to Azure Confidential Computing. Entra ID is currently the largest confidential computing workload in Azure. Another layer of security is Azure's Custom Hardware Security Module, or HSM. It is being installed in every new server in Azure's data centers. HSM installations started with the non-confidential AMD V7 DA and EA series VMs. HSM chips keep encryption keys within the secure hardware boundaries to meet strict FIPS 140-3 standards. Beyond internal services adopting confidential computing, a growing number of platform and software-as-a-service options provide confidential computing as a choice. Azure Kubernetes Service, Azure Container Instances, Azure Virtual Desktop, Azure Databricks, Azure DB for Postgres, and a preview for Azure Confidential Cleanrooms are several examples where you have a choice. Echoing back to the title of the video, How AMD and Azure Enable a More Trustworthy Cloud, I want to summarize a great blog post that came out recently about building a comprehensive sovereignty posture with confidential VMs. More and more customers require that their data be restricted to a specific region, often referred to as sovereignty. What does that entail? Well, there are 3 layers. Layer 1 is about data residency and locality. Where is my data, and does it stay there? The blog post talks about the Azure Belgium Central region as an example. There, customers can take advantage of multiple physically separate but still in-country availability regions to protect data in case one zone goes down. Belgium Central is an example of a non-paired region, which means no automatic replication of data will happen outside the country unless you choose to do so. Layer 2 is about encryption at rest and in transit. Is your data protected if someone gains physical access or intercepts it? Azure enables encryption by default and provides you the option to manage your own keys for a double layer of encryption. You also have multiple choices for key management, including the most stringent managed HSM options available on newer V7 SKUs. Layer 3 is about confidential computing itself. Is your data protected from cloud operators or a bad actor while being processed? We've talked about this before, but this is where the confidential VMs come into play. The V6 AMD confidential VMs are in preview in Belgium, according to the post. Further, Azure Attestation validates the integrity of the confidential VM, and you can do your own attestation should you want your own confirmation that you're running in a trusted executable environment. We've covered a lot in a little bit of time, but hopefully this has you wanting to learn more. For more info, please check out Azure's guide on how to create a confidential VM. You can look at the frequently asked questions as well, and check out the data sovereignty blog post we just summarized. And last but not least, you can look into the details of AMD's implementation of confidential computing. If you have any more questions, you can reach out to the team at azure@amd.com and we'll get you more information. Thank you for watching and enjoy exploring all of the AMD options you have on Azure in our other videos.